back as a Palestinian, and you think, the Shia, that's kind of the initial thing. When I saw it, actually it probably helped a lot that I was Palestinian to be able to accept the Shia strand specifically of Islam, because I see the Shias helping so much, being the biggest help. In all honesty, Iran has actually sacrificed its ability to be massively prosperous for the sake of Palestine. Iran doesn't get anything. There is no profit for Iran for being the most pro-Palestine state in the world. It does it because it's deep love for Palestinians. So, and then you can see that as a Palestinian very easily, and you stand back and you think, well, they do this, and it seems to be Shias doing the most. Like, why is that? You look into it, and quickly you find that Shia Islam is all about brotherhood, and it's about standing by the people, a just cause and the truth and justice. And then the more you look at them, obviously I support that massively. Any human being really should. And then that's what kind of served as a stepping board, somewhere to start. And I think that actually really helped. To be Palestinian helped me find the path of God, which is just excellent, really. So I've looked into the story of Imam Hussein, and I've looked into various stories, but I'm still in the kind of stage of, so I associate and obviously identify as Shia first, a Muslim, of course, but I'm still in the stage of educating myself properly and fully. So I know the stories, but I still want to know deeply, the analysis and the meaning, and obviously that will help me, but obviously you can see, just by knowing the story and knowing you can see what Shia Islam stands for, and Islam in general stands for, justice and the standing by truth and standing by the people that are oppressed. And I think that that's what helps me accept it, far easier, because it's just like I see my own people, my brothers and my sisters in Palestine, wherever they are, whether they're in occupied territories or not, then I see them suffering, and I see that Shia Islam stands up for the people who are suffering, people who are oppressed. Historically, actually, Shia Muslims have been oppressed by, various regimes and people claiming to represent Islam, when maybe it's up for debate if they really did. And I think that, as on a level of my nationality and now my faith can actually intertwine, and it just feels like it helps me support Palestine from a Shia perspective, and it helps me be Shia from a Palestinian perspective. So obviously, maybe being Greek here doesn't play such a massive role, but obviously from being Palestinian, I think that that's really helped, and I think that's what actually makes me hold strongly onto Shia Islam. That's what makes me sure that I'll never ever have any doubt that this was, if this was the right decision or not. I always know that it will be, because I know what Shia Islam stands for. And the more I look into the stories and the more I look in, educate myself properly, then there's just the more I become part of this faith, and this faith will, really ingrain itself in me. So my father passed away when I was 13, which was quite difficult, of course. So he was the person who kept the family up. He was like the provider and the person who helped with everything. So obviously, was a massive blow, especially when you're 13 and have a twin sister and live with my mum. So it's difficult to sort everything out. It was a bit we came to accept that this was an inevitability, because he was in a bad state for a while, but you just kind of didn't really expect it. You weren't prepared for it, because it just seemed insensitive at the time to kind of prepare for something like that. So the effect that it had was it kind of made me angry, a lot. So whereas everyone else would be crying and upset, it just made me quite annoyed. It just made me really furious that this could happen to me. It just felt really unfair. Everyone else is 13 and they still have both their parents, and they still have everyone in their family. Everyone's fine. But then it's just me living without a dad. It made me just quite angry at the world for a very long time. Obviously still 13. My any attachment to any faith wasn't really there anyway, but anything that I did have probably vanished for a while after that, because I just didn't really understand why something like that could happen to me when I was 13, and it just made me really angry. I look back at that now and I realise that was really stupid, and I kind of failed the test then. But obviously my dad wasn't, he obviously had a massive impact on my life, so everything that I have in terms of all my beliefs in politics especially, that's he kind of moulded those. So my belief in kind of family of humanity, and the caring for the oppressed regardless of their ethnicity or anything like that. The belief in the liberation of Palestine and the eventual unity of the Arabic-speaking peoples, across the Middle East and North Africa as a kind of ultimate goal, regardless of religion, because we can all work together. We have done it in the past, and probably the only reason why there isn't greater unity in the region is probably because other countries elsewhere in the West maybe just fear the unity that we could have. But then he kind of shaped all those views, and whereas maybe he got me involved in politics, is I have shaped my own views since then. So I'm the one who educates myself, and it just seems that he was right. So maybe I'm not going to follow what he said blindly, but I looked into it and now I do agree with him. And obviously him leaving, the loss of him from my life, it was really difficult. And it just wasn't difficult for me, but my mum always says that I was massively attached to him. So losing him probably had quite a negative impact for a while. But then actually, the more I looked into Islam, it just, that's probably like another reason why probably I found it quite relatively easy to accept it in the end, because the kind of feeling that everyone is one family is really helpful when your family is kind of spread all over the world. So, I have family pretty much every continent in the world. So having the feeling that, every Muslim and every Shia and every person that is around you is part of your family in Islam is obviously helpful. And the kind of feeling of brotherhood is like something that, all human beings look for. And it's like something that I managed to find. Up until recently, I was going along a line of education to maybe be a dentist, maybe go into medicine. And, so I've done 1 year of AS, and I stood back and I thought, do I really want to carry this on? Because obviously after you take A2s, that's kind of it. You kind of made up your decision there. So I stood back and I thought, this is fine, but it's not something I could do for the rest of my life. Like, I want to do something that I enjoy. So I've changed my ideas on what I want to be in the future. So I'm going to retake the year with different subjects altogether, apart from history, which I'll keep as an A2, and then just take English literature, economics, geography, and hopefully there's a course called PPE. The ultimate, the kind of goal in the end is to try to get into that course at Oxford, which is philosophy, politics, economics. That'll be kind of the aim. That's like the goal that I'm going to be working towards. But yeah, I just didn't feel like that path was really for me. So this year is going to be kind of, starting maybe September, is going to be like a kind of a new path from a lot of directions. So it should be good. It'll be nice to have a change. So probably about a year and a half ago, I thought, okay, well, Islam seems like the right kind of creed, the right kind of thing that I want to follow. So I went through the phase which probably my close family is going through right now, since they're trying to come on this path with me, is, non-denominational Islam, which is kind of like what started off with, not really, I can't, not because I don't want to, but just because I didn't know enough yet to be able to say, okay, well, I'm Sunni, or I'm Shia, or I'm Ahmadi, or I'm any of the others. So, I first of all looked into, because I wanted to decide, because it's important really to be able to definitively say. So I have a friend at school, an Iranian friend, who is like a pious Shia. He knows what he's talking about, and he's educated, and he knows everything. Well, he knows enough to be able to educate me in the first place. And he told me to look into things, and he showed me sites and he gave me the address of a Shia mosque in London, and being able to go and look into everything, it kind of opened my eyes initially. And then that's when I became more interested in Shia Islam. And obviously I did look into Sunni Islam, and I did look into other forms of Islam just to make sure. But Shia Islam, the more I looked into it in relative to the other forms, is the more I realized that whereas the other forms are still Islam and their followers are still Muslims, as I said, this is the perfect form of Islam. So I looked into it, and then I realized this is. It wasn't actually very long ago that I just told myself I have to, Shia Islam has to be the path that I choose. But it's just getting to the point where I'm educated enough to be able to say, yeah, I'm Shia Muslim now, that's what kind of took a while. So, but yeah, there's been plenty of help along the way, but most of that help came recently. So before, it was really difficult to find kind of resources because, people, people are willing to help, but it's not the kind of thing that they want to do all the time. So, if I just ask the same friend or the same couple of friends, can you help me with this or can you help me with that all the time, I just feel a bit, like I'm just nagging a bit. So I had to find other means. And after using the internet for a while to do some research, I realized that not everything is strictly true, or not everyone agrees on everything. And generally, it seems to be a lot of people giving their opinion rather than fact. So, or their personal interpretations rather than what's actually factually being stated in the hadith or in the text or in the whatever. So, so eventually I had to kind of just ask people that I thought were educated enough, reliable enough. But again, it's really difficult to. It's really hard to find people. But that's why even right now, as I speak right now, I'm still not at a point where, I'm on a level where, like with the rest of the Shia community, I still have so much to learn. But right now I'm educated enough, and it's taken me so long to get to this point, but I'm educated enough where I can say, Shia is 100% the right form, the perfect form of Islam. So, but there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot that can still be done to make me the best possible Muslim that I can be.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله وأشهد أن عليا أمير المؤمنين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. May Allah bless you and give you more light, more knowledge, and more courage to implement the knowledge and to spread the fact and the truth among others, inshallah. May Allah bless you. Thank you.
So, obviously, I told my family, not my whole family knows, my family is very big, but my close family at least, I told them, I informed them of my decision, and, my mum and my sister are like on the path of Islam with me, so, they're educating themselves too. I'm trying to, provide as much information for my mum and my sister especially as possible. It's just very difficult. So, if I want to try and open their eyes further to Shia Islam in particular, whereas, maybe they're still in the phase where, Islam is right for us, we're just not sure about sects or anything like that. To try to get them to the point where they are and where they know enough that they can say is still very difficult. So my family, generally speaking, reacted, I would say the people that know so far are generally quite positive. Like, it's like, well, if that's what you feel is right, then, we're going to stand by you. There's been a couple of examples where maybe that hasn't been the case, but generally speaking, it's been positive. Maybe the people that said that, maybe you're wrong or you don't know what you're talking about, maybe those people are the ones that, they're not educated properly yet. So probably even those who are a bit skeptical and a bit ignorant at the moment, if they just, went and got themselves educated about, Shia Islam and they looked into it properly, then they would probably be the first to join me in being Shia in my family. So I have lots of family which is Christian, of course, and Arab Christians and Greek Christians, like stereotypically speaking, tend to be quite religious and quite attached to their faith, and I feel like that may be the case with them too. So I haven't yet phoned them up, or because then they probably have heard, it's probably spread, but I don't think that they're going to phone me up and check. It'll probably have to be me who's going to have to phone up and say. But obviously, right now, I'm going to leave that until it's not really important what my extended family far away has to say. It's more about, if my mum's fine with it, if my close family, are accepting, then just allow me to get on with my path. And if, I can educate them on the way and hopefully open up their eyes, that's just a positive, that's like a plus. But right now I'm just trying to make myself the best Muslim I can be before I try to spread the message to others. Well, yeah, the conversion of lots of people, they find it very difficult. But obviously because my mum and my sister and various other people are on this path, with me, and they're trying to